Greetings all! Today, we'll be examining the relatively uncommon grass-type Pokemon Tangela and its rare evolution Tangrowth, the two collectively known as the Vine Pokémon. While they might appear to be somewhat silly and not much to worry about, the members of the Tangela family are sturdy creatures that can take a physical beating and deliver potent offense back in return.
Tangela have basic black main bodies that are shrouded in a thick series of bluish vine-like growths, the only parts of the body that are visible being their pinprick black photoreceptors with white sclera, and the red shoe-like root nodules that they use for both gathering nutrients from the soil and for locomotion. The evolved form Tangrowth have the same general form to them, but with much larger, stockier frames, with root nodules that are only red at the tips, also possessing a pair of long, vine-like arm growths with red tips that are larger in females compared to males. To this day, no one has ever seen the true face of Tangela and Tangrowth, and science is yet to completely understand what their inner bodies are really like. This is partially because Tangela and Tangrowth still living refuse to actually allow study, but mainly because their bodies began to rapidly disintegrate almost immediately after death. For what can't be told, however, is that the true bodies of Tangela and Tangrowth appear to consist of a root base and a large node of plant tissue that contains these creatures' nervous systems and spore-producing apparatuses. The main root system feeds together into two large nodules on the bottom of their bodies that double as a form of mobility. The central nervous system, although still plant-based in terms of metabolic functions, appears to be quite advanced for floral life forms, and effectively grants these creatures both impressive eyesight and exceptional control over their attached limbs, namely their vines. In terms of food, Tangela and Tangrowth operate in the same way as most plants, using photosynthesis in their vines to produce energy and occasionally rooting themselves into the ground for water and nutrients. Unlike Tangela in particular, however, Tangrowth will also devour live animals for food, and in fact prefer to obtain their energy this way instead of purely through photosynthesis. From what can be told genetically, Tangrowth are closely related to the ancestors of Tangela, and thus they follow the same existence issues found in other species like Piloswine and Yanma. If Tangela reaches a certain age to eventually learn how to utilize the mysterious ancient power attack, it triggers a mutation in the genetics and causes them to revert to a form closer in appearance to their ancient relatives, and thus evolve into Tangrowth. As such, their preference to live prey may point towards a possible relation to other carnivorous plants. Seeing as they are unlike all other types of carnivorous plants though, it is difficult to prove any direct relation. It is noted though that Tangrowth do share an important commonality with other carnivorous plants, in that they hunt passively, sitting around like giant bushes until prey walks near them, at which point they'll lash out and drain energy with attacks like Giga Drain.
When it comes to their overall abilities, these creatures are alike in that they make the most of their plant-based forms to keep themselves protected and immobilized, possessing chlorophyll and leaf guarder-based abilities, while those are able to regrow damaged vines in other parts of their bodies much more efficiently than normal, can also have access to Regenerator as a hidden ability.
As far as the stats are concerned, in the case of Tangrowth, these beefy monsters have a lot of stamina to work with, as well as sturdy physical forms and the capacity to make terrific use of both physical and special attacks, but they are also very slow and they're easily hurt and withered by powerful special attacks. So the base special defense and speed stats are the only base stats that are not above average for fully evolved grass-type Pokemon, in turn giving them much promise and proving to be a real threat in battle. In essence, the vines covering the bodies of Tangela are nothing more than large growths infused with photosynthetic cells and tissue responsive to electrical signals, making them anatomically crude. In terms of mobility though, they're anything but crude. The vines of Tangela are in constant motion because of their sensitivity to electrical signals, allowing Tangela to effectively unnerve any potential predators or opponents right from the start. These vines can be operated independently at any given moment, making any area within these creatures' zone of reach dangerous to be in. This isn't so much because of their physical strength as it is their ability to ensnare targets, as Tangela have to be readily close to the target in order to use the most powerful moves, namely their Sleep Powder and Giga Drain moves. Though it might seem easy to break out of the grasp, the vines of Tangela are coated with extremely fine sensory hairs that, though meant to act as a way of detecting subtle changes in air currents to find predators, have the effect of tickling and further unnerving the opposition. This form of intense distraction is usually more than enough to pacify smaller opponents, making an engagement with anything smaller than a Tangela a risky proposition. If this is not enough though, then the distinct aroma given off by the vines usually does the trick as well, which has a soothing effect that makes them popular as herb substitutes in places like the Galar region and a popular cooking spice in olden times, creating a refreshing sensation when chewed. If an opponent does manage to break free and ends up damaging or tearing off a vine, however, it is still nothing to worry about. While the vines are responsive to electrical signals, they contain no pain receptors and thus produce no pain sensations when damaged. Thankfully for Tangela, these vine growths are constantly in the process of growing, so collateral damage in any battle is usually repaired within the next day or so, and substituted with an acid spray attack while they regenerate. Oddly enough, the biggest weakness of Tangela is that they are quite ticklish. At the moment, it is believed the electrical sensitivity of their vines is the culprit behind this phenomenon, but further studies in the nervous system will be needed to confirm this hypothesis. Like Tangela, the vines of Tangrowth are anatomically crude growths containing photosynthetic cells and tissue that is highly responsive to electrical signals. Despite the simple structures, these fine-haired vines work extremely well with the nervous systems of Tangrowth and can effectively be utilized independently at any given time. While Tangela generally use all of their vines equally for offense and defense, Tangrowth are a bit more organized and possess two distinct types of vines. The first and more common types are the somewhat short vines covering their bodies. While these vines are rarely ever used for offense, the sheer number of them creates an incredibly thick coat of organic matter that is incredibly difficult to damage with physical strikes. This makes the block technique, learned as a consequence of their massive size, particularly effective, and a fair exchange for a slightly lowered base speed stat due to their increased bulk. The second type consists of the two long groups of elastic vines that sprout from these creatures' sides. Perhaps as a way of increasing their grip strength and dexterity, these vines are split at the ends into several finger-like appendages, each tipped with a streak of red coloration. These vines are specifically designed to grant Tangrowth increased physical strength, most likely a consequence of carnivorous eating habits. While seemingly fragile, these special vines nearly double the base attack stat of Tangela upon evolving, and grant them the strongest power whip attack out of all Pokemon. Thankfully, Tangrowth are further like Tangela in that they have no pain receptors in their vines, and thusly do not feel any pain if they are damaged or cut off. This is only enhanced by the constant growth of the vines, which ensures that any collateral damage is usually repaired within a day or so, utilizing both acid spray and sludge bomb attacks later in life to defend themselves with while regenerating. Unfortunately, while Tangrowth are nowhere near as ticklish as Tangela, the growth rates of the vines are dependent upon sunlight and ambient temperature. While this usually isn't a problem, in the warmer summer months, this can cause the vines to grow so thick that the vision is partially or even completely obscured, forcing them to tear off their own vines to rectify the issue.
You know, not enough people really give these strange plants the respect they deserve, as while they do look rather funny, they can also prove to be fairly strong fighters in battle. Tangela might be a bit on the awkward side when it comes to interacting with them physically, but the tickling sensation the vines can give others are at least thankfully non-toxic, so that gives them a big advantage for trainers looking to make cuddle buddies out of them. We might not have a good idea of what their faces are really like, but at the very least they can be rather expressive with their eyes and voice to make up for that. Tangrowth are hulking creatures that definitely push when it comes to the size of a grass-type Pokemon, and all that natural bulk isn't just for show. Make sure to keep your distance from them if you don't have a way to escape their grasp, or they might just put the squeeze on you in more ways than one.
Strange in form, but more than able to pack a wall when the full evolutionary power is unleashed, the members of the Tangela family are stringy creatures that can certainly prove to be a difficult set of fighters to not get tangled up in within the heat of the moment. A bit of fire and ice might be more than enough to put them down, but you shouldn't let that lull you into a sense that you are totally safe from them.
As such, do yourself a favor and try to keep on your toes when they come to fight, as they might not have much move variety on their own, but with artificial help, they can bust out attacks like Earthquake and Rock Slide that can cover their weaknesses and crush anything that dares to get in the way of their floral might.
Thank you all for watching this video. It is a great pleasure to share with you all the fruits of my research and all the positives it gives to understanding the wonderful creatures we call Pokemon and how their powers and behaviors function in their world. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more work like it, please give a like, comment, and or subscribe to the channel so you can get regular notifications on when new content is being uploaded. You can also find links to my DeviantArt page, Patreon, and Discord server in the description below. Please, join me on this road to seeing what the world of Pokemon has to share with us, and the many mysteries and wonders that keep us all coming back for more.